Welcome to A Well-Designed Business with your host, Luann Nigara. Luann has a lifetime of experience building a multi-million-dollar business with her husband and cousin, and she knows the challenges you face in your interior design business. Luann brings you real-life answers to your most pressing problems, as well as practical strategies to explode your interior design business. So, let's get to the business of interior design.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Power Talk Friday on A Well-Designed Business. Today I have AJ Wilcox with me. Hi AJ, how are you?
Hey Luann, doing great today. Thanks so much for having me on.
Yes, looking forward to it. You are a new topic for us. We are almost at, I think we're probably over 200 shows at this point, and we have never discussed LinkedIn. And so you are our LinkedIn guru. And I'm just going to tell everybody a little bit about you. You fell in love with LinkedIn back in 2011, and you liked it so much that you started an agency focusing on just LinkedIn ads. And you're a ginger and you're a triathlete. I'm one too. Yay. You and your wife live in Utah. You have 4 kids and your company car is a go-kart. So I'm expecting that this is going to be sort of a fun interview.
I sure hope so.
Exactly.
I'm not a boring person.
So here's the thing. AJ, like I said to you, we have not discussed LinkedIn on the show in over a year and a half. And look, let's just put the cat right out of the bag on this. Let's be real. One of the reasons why is because I don't think it's a really hot platform for interior design industry. Seriously, we all know that interior design is a visual industry, and we're over there at Instagram and even Facebook and so forth. But LinkedIn is sort of a little serious, I think, for us. But I do know that every bit of social media and every bit of marketing that we can do for our businesses is valuable. And if you're going to do something, you should do it right. And so I am so glad that you are here today, because I'm one of those people that has a LinkedIn profile, but literally do nothing with it. My social media team posts, I believe, the podcast out on a regular basis. That's not me doing it. And I even told a story recently. I'm not sure which way, if it's out yet or not on podcast, order. But I even told a story where one of the designers reached out to me on LinkedIn by private message, complimenting me, telling me about, what she liked about the show, asking me questions, and ended up not knowing it for like 3 months.
Oh no.
Yes. Fortunately, Kylie, is the designer. She went around another way and she found me on Twitter, and there we connected, and now we're connected on Instagram, which is the easiest platform for us. But I mean, it's sort of like the stepchild over there. It's like, whatever. So I am happy to have you here, AJ, and I would mostly like for you to tell us, first of all, what do you think about it? If we're going to be there, what kinds of things should we consider? What way would we use it for our interior design businesses? And just tell us, what do we need to know about LinkedIn, AJ?
Sure thing. So when you very first start out on LinkedIn, the very first things that it asks you are like, what's your job title? What do you do? And then it has you start connecting with all the professionals that you know. So even in times where I'm not using LinkedIn all the time, I run an agency, so I kind of do. But even like the times when I'm not, it's generally because, or I usually come back to it because it's more like a Rolodex for me. I know if I want news, I'm going to go to Twitter. But if I need to get in contact with someone that I know professionally, or someone who can do me a favor, LinkedIn's the network I go to. So that's where it's really, really valuable. And I'd love to talk about how this can benefit really anyone in business, but especially designers.
Okay. So should we do a little bit first about how to set up that profile page, and are there do's and don'ts for a profile page, or is it pretty much it's your standard street cred and don't overthink it?
Yeah, actually, there are some pretty nice little shortcuts you can take. So, for instance, they used to ask for your job title, and that was what it showed. So it'd be like owner B2 Linked would be my headline. Mm-hmm. Well, no one's ever heard of B2 Linked, my agency. Like it's a tiny little brand, and no one cares. And so many people out there are owners. That's not impressive. And so what you can do instead is say, okay, I know it used to say job title. I know it says job title, but instead I'm going to say I'm just going to tell it what I'm good at. And so I think I have mine like LinkedIn speaker, advertiser, trainer, consultant. I mean, anything like that. And what you do is you advertise what it is you're good at. And the reason why is because anytime that someone looks at you on LinkedIn, and there are lots of different ways to see you in lots of different views, but every time someone looks at you, it's always going to have your picture, your name, and that headline. And
so just ignore the rules. It says job title, but just ignore it is what you're saying.
Exactly.
And put what you want in there. That's such a rule-breaking moment. I love that, I have to say.
Yes. And let's say, I mean, if you're a designer, you want people to know you're a designer because you want their referrals. And so even if someone that you're connected to knows who you are, it's really good to stay top of mind. And so every time you post something, every time you interact somewhere, that's the one reminder someone's going to have is that you are Luann and you are a designer. And that's,
so what you're saying, let me understand something. So for instance, if somebody's an interior designer and their firm is called, Sally Smith Interiors, of course, that's sort of descriptive, and you sort of get that they're interior designer. But if Sally Smith Interiors specializes in kitchen design, for example, you would suggest that it says, kitchen design specialist, whatever 2 or 3, little blip that says something about, expert kitchen designer specializing in, the cook's kitchen or something like that. I don't know, professional kitchens or restaurant grade kitchens or commercial kitchens or whatever it is. So forget Sally Smith Interiors. Describe what you do in a concise, catchy way so that when somebody at a glance looks at your profile, they get it.
Yeah, I would love to see one that said like, Luann, I build the consumer kitchens that make you go, wow. I mean, something like that would be
even more personal and more okay.
And then even better is you start to get this word association where everyone in everyone's mind, you have like you're the whatever gal or the whatever guy. I'm the LinkedIn guy and in pretty much everything I do. And so what you're doing is you're associating that. Luann is the kitchen gal,
Right. Okay. So I should start putting there, I'm the podcast queen.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. I like it. It's very, hey, we're off to a great start because, what's that? We all look, I am actually by nature a rule breaker, but the truth is on something like that, I would never think to go out of the box. I'd be like, okay, owner at WindowWorks or host at Podcast of a Well-Designed Business. I would just do what it said to do.
That's right. And then you would blend in just like everyone else.
Exactly. Just go against the wall there. Okay. All right. So awesome. All right. So then anything else in our profile that we should think about?
Yeah. So there used to be, so what I'm talking about when things used to be, this was probably 3 or 4 months ago, LinkedIn underwent a redesign and they changed a whole bunch of stuff around.
Okay.
It used to be that you would have this field called job title and you'd have this field called summary that you could add if you wanted to. Well, now they saw how valuable it's a free form text field. You can write whatever you want. And so now they built it into your profile. So if someone goes and looks at your profile, it'll of course have your picture, your name, your headline that we talked about, and then it will have a lead in to this free paragraphs of text that you can write whatever you want.
Okay.
And the very first, it's usually like 200 to 230 characters are permanently visible. And then there's a little button that says click here to see more. Okay. So use that first 200 characters to describe what it is you do super well and why they should care. Think of when you're writing it, the WIIFM rule, the what's in it for me. Write it for if you're an interior designer, you're going to write this assuming that someone who is going to look at your profile and they want to hire you as their interior designer.
Okay, so your ideal client, you think what's in it for your ideal client? What do you do for them? Why do they care about it? And that should be expressed in the first 200 or so characters. The rest you can go on and but don't start out with all this crazy nonsense stuff and then get to the meat of it in the 5th sentence.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay.
You want that right up front, because how many people are going to click the see more? I mean, only if they're trying to like stalk you, right? It's not super interesting. You want what you want out of someone, and that's your chance as the profile owner to get someone's attention and let them know why they should care about you.
Okay. Love it. All right. Where are we going from here?
All right. So the last thing that you can add to your profile there is videos. So you can have, I forget what they call it. I really should bring it up so I don't sound like an idiot on a podcast. But they have like a portfolio editions. And so what you can do is, if you've ever been interviewed somewhere, if you've been on the podcast, if you've done all of these things, you can include videos or clips or snippets that will show up. And then anytime someone's looking at you, they can be like, oh, this is her portfolio. Let me check and see like where she's been featured. And if you have good social proof, you've been around, you have a strong brand, prove it to people. This is a great place for it.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay. I don't know that I know that or not. I'll have to look at LinkedIn and see if it's like one of those where I go, oh yeah, I realized that, or I'm like, oh, didn't notice it. Okay. So again, and of course there's 200 people listening that have been featured on this podcast. So you're saying they could embed it right there and let their clients know how they run their business and blah, blah, blah. Or they could be doing videos that show their studio and show tell their direct client, their ideal client, in their own words, why and how they solve problems for them.
Yes, so powerful. Because we know in business to business decision making, 80% of the decision is made before even contacting a company. And so by the time you get a lead, and I assume this is probably the same for designers, by the time you get a lead, someone has already done a little bit of legwork in researching you. So why not put your best foot forward and put your acclaims? You are greater than some of their other choices, so why not prove it?
Right. Okay. I love it. All right. So we have our profile built. Is there anything else in the profile?
That's pretty much it for the profile.
Okay.
Then you get into someone's experience, and this turns into the resume portion. It's your job title, it's the company you worked at, and what you did. And that may or may not be interesting. If you have a pretty storied background, if you've had 15 years of design experience, great. Like, showcase all that. I would not treat this like a resume entry, though. Instead of saying like, I was responsible for X, I went and did Y. Instead, talk about the results you made. I mean, this is the same thing that we tell people on resumes to do, but sure, list your title, list the company you worked for, but then tell the results that you had and why you're worth paying attention to. Not very many people get down that far, but if they do, that's the statement you want to make, not just the job title I had was responsible for this crap. Okay.
Any examples of statements that show results? Like, I'm just like an example. It doesn't even have to be our industry, but something that you would say a job title. And I mean, because what goes through my mind is all those, googly bick, like those words that are like, created, this and, I don't know. It just seems like on resumes, it's like, come on, that's nonsense.
Yes. I was responsible for a 30% increase in revenue.
Right. It's like, whatever. So are there, like, the way that headline was so like out of the box thinking, are there key statements or key ways to express results that you have achieved for positions that aren't so like I Googled them out of Google on how to do results? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. On mine right now, I have one that says, I have an extreme passion for advertising on LinkedIn. I make LinkedIn ads rock. Something along those lines. If you have something like that, it's definitely going to stand out less like a resume piece and more like look what he did in this position, or look what he does. So I think that's a great place to start. Just you do have to speak a little bit out of the box, because LinkedIn is this network of professionals. It seems so straight-laced and everyone's stuffy and there's all these stock photos everywhere. If you want someone to take you seriously, if you want someone to think you're special, you have to sound like it. So do put a little bit of effort into everything you write on there and inject your personality into it. And if you don't have a personality, no problem. Like, you'll just fit in with everyone else. But if you do have one, great, launch it out there.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is that we're thinking of LinkedIn, or I should speak for myself. I'm thinking of LinkedIn as this boring place, but it's only because we go there and we all do the same boring things. Like you would never talk like the way on Instagram or Facebook in corporate speak. But as soon as you get to LinkedIn, it feels like, sit up straight and speak corporate speak. And what you're saying is no. And especially for all of my listeners, they're creative people. They are people that rock things, and they are people that create such beauty and everything. So you're saying to embrace that and forget that it's this stuffy, quote unquote, platform, to be who you are, the creative rock star person that you are.
Exactly. And there's definitely a place to use your jargon and talk shop. I mean, you can go join a designer group on LinkedIn and have those conversations, but everything else needs to be assuming that no one has any idea what it is you do, and you're going to be educating them. So you talk very simply and try to be fun, because you will stand out. Okay. I agree 100%.
Okay. Interesting. It's sort of like, oh, okay. Yeah. Be us. What a concept. Okay. What's next on this whole thing here? Where are we going from here?
So at this point, I mean, you can go down and you can join groups. You can add skills to your profile, like choose all the design skills, all the creative, all those types of skills, so people know what it is you do. That can be mildly helpful in different situations, but probably not a giant priority. So right now at this point, if you've followed our conversation, you know how to create a profile, you know how to make one that stands out. You can now be found, and you're going to be able to be brandable. The next thing I think is getting yourself out there. And I have a really, really cool hack for anyone who uses LinkedIn.
Okay.
I'm going to go back a little ways and tell you a little bit of a history. So back before 2013, LinkedIn was the place where you just went and updated your resume every 6 months. And it wasn't a place to hang out. It wasn't a place to be. It was a destination to get something done. Right. And then in 2013, that was when LinkedIn realized, holy cow, with people only coming back every 6 months, our advertising isn't useful. Our recruiting isn't helpful. Basically everything that they make money off of, they said it's not helpful unless we get people to come and spend time on the platform. And so they bought a company called Pulse, and it's a news app. And the entire goal was, let's get news in here so people can log in. And if you're a CEO in X industry, you can find the news that only pertains to that type of person, and you can just ignore everything else. So that was the goal. So in 2013, we got the news feed. We got the ability to share, comment, like, all the stuff that real social media has you do. And because it was so early on and people weren't spending a whole lot of time there, they realized that in most people's feeds, there wasn't going to be a whole lot going on. And they didn't want crickets happening. So what they did is said, okay, instead of tumbleweeds and crickets, we're going to find reasons to put things in your feed. And so they started saying like, hey, it's so-and-so's birthday right in your feed. Right. And so-and-so just took a new job. That's interesting. But then it was still not as active as they wanted. So they started injecting things like someone you're connected to liked this post. Someone you're connected to commented on this article. And these are what I would call social interactions that are not super interesting on other networks. Just because someone replied to a tweet doesn't mean that it deserves to be seen by everyone. But because of this, and they've kept this, even though the network is actually pretty busy now, because of this, you have this really easy to go viral kind of effect. And so, for instance, imagine this. Imagine you go out onto LinkedIn and you say, just finished a job, look at this amazing kitchen. And of course, everyone in your network, everyone who's not a designer is going to hit like, and they're going to comment and say, good job. They're going to cheer you on. Everyone who is a designer is going to maybe do the same thing and kind of talk shop a little bit in those comments. Right. But now you have this post that, let's say you're connected to 500 people. You have this post that went out to those 500 people for whenever they happen to get on LinkedIn, which statistically is about, twice a month people will hop on there. But now that, let's say 30 different people have clicked like or have commented, Now, because they took that action, LinkedIn is selectively sharing out that same post to all of their networks. So you have 30 people who are also all connected to around 500 people, and it just goes out and spreads. That is how you go viral, and that's also how you get your name out there. You have a whole bunch of people seeing your amazing job that you just pulled off, and they've never heard of you before, and now they're going to think about it.
Okay. So you're saying it's sort of like the Facebook algorithm, where the more people that comment and like on it, the more they will keep showing it and having it come up in the feed.
Exactly. Yep. The more interactions one post has, they go, great, this is content that we want our members to see. And so they'll keep pushing it out more and more.
And I have a question for you. So like on Facebook, when you put a post out, say you're friends with 500 people, it doesn't come to 500 people's feeds. It comes to the same 8 or 10 people that you interact with. Are you saying on LinkedIn, it will go to every single person you're connected with feed? Now, of course, they're not there every 20 seconds like they are on Facebook, but it will go to their feed if you're connected with them, or is it a popularity thing among the people you're connected to as well?
No, that's exactly it. It's going to go out to everyone. LinkedIn doesn't have this algorithm that sifts you out because they want to make more money. I think LinkedIn realizes no one's ever going to run ads on their own post and pay $6 to $8 a click just to get someone to see what they wrote. And so LinkedIn is still actively pushing your content out to your network. And on Facebook, only 5% of people are going to see it. And that's really sad. But they want you to pay for ads to get the rest out.
So that's literally probably the number one thing that we should take away. And we're not done talking, so maybe there'll be another number one thing. But at this moment, AJ, like I'm just sitting here contemplating that. So if an interior designer is out there and he or she is connected to even 200 people, let alone the 500 people, if they were to post their status on a project or the completed project or something like that, we're not getting that with Facebook. We're not getting that with Instagram. We're not getting that sort of thing in front of everybody. And that's a pretty unique opportunity. And of course, for interior design, you could be connected to the CEO of wherever, ABC company. He still has a home or she still has a home. Do you know what I mean? And if that person is looking at it and sees, whoa, that's an awesome kitchen, I need one of those, sign me up, it's an opportunity.
That's exactly right. And the audience on LinkedIn is inherently skews way more affluent than Facebook or any other network. And so just like you said, you're connected to some powerful business people that you're probably not going to send them an email and say, hey, have you thought about a remodel? But if they happen to see you, they're going to call it serendipity, and they're going to close faster. They're going to be more passionate about it. So yeah, this is the audience that you want to show to. They have disposable income.
Now, just to be, really clear. So, for instance, it is somewhat like the feed, though, on all of the social media platforms. If I post a post of a kitchen and I don't post again for 3 more weeks, just because it literally had to show up on everybody that I'm connected with feed. If somebody I'm connected with doesn't look for 2 or 3 weeks, it's probably going to be all the way down and they're not going to see it. So the idea is, like all the other social media platforms, to do it consistently so that somebody might miss one, but then they'll see the other one the 3rd or 4th day later. Is that correct? Because the feed is, if you're connected, somebody's connected 500 people and 40 of them are active, then your post is going to be getting pushed down the rotation, correct?
Yeah, that is exactly right.
Okay.
The life of a tweet is something like 6 minutes. The life of a Facebook post might be, let's say it's 15, 20 minutes. On LinkedIn, I will have a post live and do really well for a day and a half. And so if you wanted to make sure that you stayed in front of people, that might be really annoying to the most active of your connections. But if you wanted to be like really out front and aggressive, you could post a new thing every 2 days and always be there when someone, one of your connections logged in.
Interesting. Okay, so that's incredibly valuable because we're all going out of our way to make this amazing content for these other platforms. And like I said, the thing about Facebook is you interact the most with your closest friends and family, and they're the ones that are the ones that least need to know what you're doing next. You're going to talk to them and tell them.
That's exactly right. And they're also
like
the ones that are, they're also the ones who are going to want the best friend discount.
Right. So it's sort of like, wait, all those other people that I'm just acquainted with, I'd love them to know what I'm doing. Okay. And so we're, over here forgetting about the value of LinkedIn on that. So that's interesting. Okay. Now, however, we will just say, I can't even imagine that we're not taking crazy pictures. I'm eating ice cream with my kids after school. That's where we are keeping it buttoned up and professional on LinkedIn. That's going to be the best return on our time and our posts if we keep it professional, correct?
Yeah, I would say to a degree. So there's something really funny going on right now on LinkedIn. I saw this especially during the elections, where someone would post something very political, and they'll say something about Hillary this or Donald Trump that, and a whole bunch of people who see it would comment and they'd say, "This isn't appropriate for LinkedIn. Please take this to Facebook." But because they commented, it then got shared out to their whole network. And so you'd have these just kind of stupid posts that go like crazy viral and have 11,000 comments, all of which are telling people, please, this is not, this isn't appropriate here, but yet because you're commenting, it stays here. So
that's funny. That's funny.
If you want to annoy people, sure, like post things that are non-professional, but my guess is you probably want business. So yeah, keep it professional. Ask for things for feedback. I mean, you want someone to comment so it spreads. So maybe you show 2 different swatches of fabric and you say, vote A or B. Like, what do you think I should do with this living room or whatever? A lot of people are going to vote, and that's going to spread like crazy. Like I talked before, show a picture of a job you did. I mean, lots of things that are going to just generate a reaction. That's what you want on LinkedIn.
Okay. And so to that point, even if you're just showing a single photograph of a completed project or a work in progress project, are you suggesting that it gets a little bit more push around the world there in LinkedIn if we ask a question with it, as opposed to say, like, I just did this kitchen, say, what do you think about the granite countertops or the marble countertops in this kitchen, and try and intrigue somebody to answer it?
Oh, that's really insightful. Yeah, so I would think about two different approaches here. Okay. One approach would be to actually ask for feedback, run a quiz, ask what people think. And because it's so creative and subjective, you might get a lot of really good response. If you finish a job and post a picture, this is kind of what we call the humble brag. You're saying, really glad that we finished this job. My team put their hearts into it, and now it looks gorgeous. Thanks to everyone who was involved. Something like that. It comes across as very, very svelte, very, very beautiful, very thankful. But because it shows up like that and you have people in your network who want to support you, they're going to hit like and they're going to hit comment and say congrats. And so I think both approaches work really well.
Okay. I love it. And then is there a feature for tagging people? So for example, if a kitchen designer, we're on this kitchen designer thing, we may as well stay with it, right?
Yeah.
So if a kitchen designer works with a particular contractor or a particular cabinet maker or a particular vendor for their appliances that is really their loyal person and they do every project together, or even if it's a first time, whatever, is there a feature for tagging? So you might say like that humble brag and then name that person, and then it tags them where they can then come into, be called into the discussion and get the credit right there in real time?
Yes, exactly. They now have a tagging feature. This didn't used to be the case. And so you can tag a company that was involved if they've created a company page, but maybe most of these haven't. But you can always tag the person. And this is great because once you get tagged, you're notified right to your personal email that you've been tagged in a comment. So of course you're going to go check it out. And because someone's saying something great about you, you're going to want to share it. So you might even hit reshare, or you hit like and comment. And again, it spreads to your network. That's a great way of activating people.
Okay. So it's a lot of the same principles as the way it works on Facebook, but it just seems like we're getting a lot more, bang for our time based on whatever our network might be there, because they're not, like you said, sifting through and saying, well, we're only going to show it to these 20 of your 400 contacts.
That's exactly right.
Huh.
Yeah. Big opportunity, I think, on LinkedIn, whereas most of us are probably not thinking that that's the network we need to spend any time on. Right. And the nice thing is, because a post lives for a day and a half, it's not like you have to spend all day on it. You don't have to give LinkedIn a whole lot of time and attention, because it moves so slowly compared to other social media. But just make sure it's a part, and I'm sure you'll see the revenue roll in.
Okay, interesting. And then tell me about this whole endorsing for skill sets. I mean, that just seems so useless. Like, I don't get it. I mean, I don't know. I've been endorsed for 9,000 things. And then every once in a while, like I said, when I go on and they'll say, oh, do you want to endorse so-and-so for interior design? I'm like, well, of course I do. Let me hit yes. You know what I mean? But I mean, what does anybody pay attention to that? Like, who's looking at your profile and thinks, oh, they must be a great interior designer because they've been endorsed 25 times? Like, is that anybody's criteria for hiring somebody?
I don't think it's necessarily a criteria for binarily considering someone or not considering someone, but here's where it helps. Okay. On the first part, you have a number next to it of the number of people or the number of times you've been endorsed for a certain skill. And so if you have 99 plus of let's say window coverings, mm-hmm. and your competitor has 11, when you're comparing the two, you're going to look at it and go, oh, she's probably better. Like, Luann is probably the one we want to talk to on this one. And so we call that social proof, the idea of things that other people are saying making our position stronger. Mm-hmm. So it's nice from a social proof angle. And then the other one is nicer. I don't know too much about design as a field, but let's think about computer programmers, for instance. Mm-hmm. You might be someone who programs websites with HTML and CSS and the way things look, and JavaScript and those kind of technologies. Or a very different designer might be someone who's building the back end, the databases, the language behind the logic and all that. And if someone's checking you out, you don't want to just have it say, this is just another computer programmer. You want someone to look at you and consider you for the exact skill set that you have. Mm-hmm. So skills and endorsements are a great way of honing that and saying, I realize that there are 50 things here that it says that I'm good at, but look at the ones that I'm most skilled at right here. I'm really good at designing beautiful websites that are really functional, okay. That kind of focus.
Okay. I guess I just always figured it and looked at it and thought, well, if somebody has 55 endorsements for kitchen design and somebody else has 20, it's probably because if I go to their profile, somebody has 200 contacts and somebody has 10. Like, I don't know that I actually equated it to, your actual skill set as a designer, just probably the number of contacts that you had. But I guess, okay, there's something to be said. So, and of course, I've never really looked to hire anybody off of LinkedIn. So maybe if I were somebody that were looking to do that, then I might go further and say, wow, they both have the same amount of contacts and she only has or he only has 20 endorsements. Then I might actually think, what's wrong with that person? Okay.
Yeah, totally fair. I mean, social proof, it means different things to different people. It may or may not make sense, but realistically, it's so very little of your time to go in there and type in a few skills and go and endorse other people. They may come back and endorse you in return. It doesn't take that much work.
No, well, I think that's why I don't recognize the value of it. It's like, okay, click, click, click. Like, it feeds you all the people, and you're like, want to endorse them for interior design? Yes. Want to endorse them for space planning? Yes. You want to endorse them for, this? Okay. Like, it's like, whatever.
Do you want to endorse this person for snowboarding?
Right.
Why not? I don't know if she snowboards, but she
she must be a good snowboarder, and ask me if she was. Okay. All right. That's awesome. All right. So, now, I'm going to make an assumption that it's one thing to show up on somebody's feed, and it is easier. We've already established that it's easier, but I'm going to make an assumption that it really is probably no different than any other social media platform, that when you are putting content out there, that it's valuable content, that it's helpful content, right? That you're actually providing a service. And if it's an interior designer, they might put a blog post on how to select an area rug, or how to make the right size of an area rug, or how to, right, rather than just here I am, here I am, here I am.
Yes. Yeah, this is the one network that I look at and go, this is not where you want to alienate your followers. You don't want to make your posts look mundane, and so people look at it and they just, every time you show up in their feed, they discount it and just try to skip past it because this is the same old, same old. This is the group that has the money. This is the group that you're going to get your business from. This is the group that is going to cheer you on and celebrate you and share you when you have successes. So yeah, don't alienate LinkedIn. Definitely make sure that what you put on is thoughtful. I would not take whatever I was putting on Twitter and just have all of that auto post to LinkedIn. That's the opposite of what you want to do.
Okay. I don't know what my team is doing. They might have thought of this through. We might have to have a meeting.
Well, you get my free consulting. That's how this works.
Yes, right, exactly. Okay, so you know what? I have to say, AJ, you really are making me think twice about this whole platform. I love the idea that if you take the time. See, I guess that's sort of what's defeating about Facebook. Of course, what happens with Facebook, it seems sort of defeating sometimes because you, like I said, you take all this time, you put something together, and your same 20 friends and colleagues see it. But at the same time, it's fun. So the payoff is there. Your same 20 friends tell you, hey, good job, and you had a great time, and you see what they're doing. So it's much more friendship based. I mean, I just received a gift in the mail from somebody on the West Coast, and from Courtney Prasaric from Inc. PR. And my husband says to me, why did she send you a present? And I'm like, well, we're friends. And he's like, what? I'm like, well, we talk all the time on Facebook and Instagram. And he's like looking at me like, I'm like, but it is friends now. We are friends. You know what I mean? And so I never thought of LinkedIn in that way, and so therefore it seemed like maybe not worth my time or effort. But the fact that you could present professionally what it is that you're very skilled at and go in front of an affluent marketplace and go have fun at the other platforms, but really do some networking here and put out your skills and your design, creativity. You're making me think.
Well, good. I have done my job thoroughly.
You have.
Then.
I have to
Case
say.
closed.
Yeah, you really have. I mean, and especially look, every residential designer out there, there's an opportunity because every one of us is a homeowner. Well, that's absurd, but many, many, many of us are homeowners that are on there, whether, whatever industry we come from. So an interior designer could be utilized by almost anybody. But I'm also especially thinking about the impact that commercial interior designers could be making, right? Because on this space, you've got the purchasing agents and you've got the CEOs and you've got all of the different people for these big companies, and a commercial interior designer might be able to make a good impression on somebody and get their foot in the door for a redesign or a new build or a reconstruction project that's coming up for a big company, right?
Ooh, yeah, let's talk about this.
Okay.
So another angle to how you can use LinkedIn is being very targeted about who you want to start relationships with, who you want introductions to.
Oh.
So of course, you're going to send out invitations to the people that you know professionally, your contractors, your designers, your suppliers. All of those people are going to be in your network. But then you can say, hey, there is a new building going down the road for a tech company. I'm going to go find out. I'm going to use LinkedIn search feature. I'm going to find out who is over that build, who's over that project, and I'm going to send them a connection request, and I'm going to customize it and say, hey, I'd love to be connected to you. I saw that you do X. Let me know if I can ever be a resource to you. That kind of thing.
Okay.
Once you are connected to someone on LinkedIn, you have unlimited free messages between the two. And this is something that not very many people know. You also have access to their personal email address. It's now in your contact information. And so once you get someone to accept your connection request, now you can talk to them and have a conversation. And now that person sees all the success that you're having on your other jobs. They see what you do. And of course, when it comes time to actually choose a designer, you're going to be top of mind for them because they've already seen you. So
Right.
Be targeted about who you find, who you connect with, and use that to your advantage.
Okay, I like that idea. That's really good. And so that makes me wonder, when you were describing that and about what you have access to, there's the paid level and the free level. Is there any reason to go to paid level for small business owners like ourselves, or is that really only valuable to some of the bigger firms out there that are using it for recruiting and all that stuff?
I'm going to go a hard maybe on this one. And the reason why is because
expression.
Yeah, a solid maybe.
I'm not sure.
But when you have the professional, by the way, like the upgraded version of LinkedIn now, they just raised the prices on it. And so it took it even further out of the hands of, I think, small businesses. And I'm not really happy about the price changes there. But when you do upgrade, here are a couple of the benefits you get. Number one, you get the ability to send, it's usually like 5 to 10 messages to people that you're not already connected to.
Okay.
But I can already do that in a connection request. So if I find an architect somewhere that I want to be in with, I'll just send a connection request. I don't need to send an in-mail, as they call it, which is actually kind of an expensive mode of communication. So that may or may not be helpful to you if you don't want to use the connection request strategy. Okay. The second thing is every so often you'll get an email in your box that says something like, hey, you're looking good. People are checking out your profile, or 3 people have viewed your profile. Come see who it is. And of course, there's not much actionable that you can do when you see that, 3 or 4 people came and looked at your profile. You just go, oh, that's interesting. But what it is it's ego bait. When someone views you, you want to see who was looking at your profile. You want to see who's stalking you. Right. And LinkedIn will, in the free version, will only show you the last 5 people that you've that have seen it. Right. And then anyone else past that you can't see unless you pay. Right. So a lot of people are paying because they want the ego bait. So I don't know whether that's a smart investment or not, but it works.
Okay. And that's really the premise for that's the paid features. There's nothing else that we're missing out on.
Yeah, there are a few other things that you get in there, but those are the 2 main drivers, I think, for why people are actually buying these premium profiles. And
what price point is the premium profile up to at this point?
I don't know for sure, but I think it's in like the $110, $120 per month range.
Whoa.
Which, yeah, like I said, it's pricey. You used to be able to get a version for like 40, 50, 60, somewhere in there. Right. And like all cards on the table, I'm not a premium subscriber. I spend a lot of time on LinkedIn. I do a lot with it, but I haven't found a reason to pony up the dough for it.
Right. That's crazy, just to see who looked at your profile. Okay. All right. So, but I mean, this is not our audience, but I guess like if you are a company with 400 employees and you are regularly recruiting and all that other stuff, and you need to go in and out and see everything, maybe that makes a difference. I don't know.
Exactly. Yep. If you need to be able to reach out to someone cold and say, hey, I've got an opportunity for you, those can work great. And I still get them quite a bit. I just don't know that I would personally pay for it.
Right. Okay. Interesting. All righty. Are there things that we haven't covered? I mean, you convinced me that I have to at least go over and look at my profile, come up with a snappy little headline, and really spend some time there and see what's happening. Are there other things that we need to learn, AJ, about this?
Oh, maybe. How much time do we have? Okay, let's jump on 2 things here really quick, and then I can be wrapped up. In any depth that you want to dive into these things, sure, we can do it. Okay. So the first is when LinkedIn acquired Pulse, they also started releasing to what they called their influencers, which were like 120 business celebrities, like Richard Branson and Bill Gates and Barack Obama. They gave all of these influencers the ability to write blog posts inside of their LinkedIn profile. And this was so great because if I'm working for a brand and I go and write a blog post, that company owns my content now. And when I go work for someone else, it stays there on the blog, and it doesn't provide me much benefit anymore. But if I take an article and I write it on my own profile, it doesn't matter where I go, that thought leadership is going to be associated with me. So I think it's a really cool opportunity. And even on top of that, the Pulse network, they're constantly looking for articles to push out in what they call their digests. And it's the daily or weekly updates that they send to professionals. And so if you write a really good article that gets a lot of interaction right up front, lots of those likes, comments, and shares, it may get picked up and pushed out. And so you might write this article on your own personal profile that gets viewed by, I don't know, 50 of your connections. And then all of a sudden it gets kicked up and you've got 5,000 views on it tomorrow. So another great way of potentially going viral.
Okay, so, and again, teach something, do something thoughtful, write something relevant to somebody. And of course, continuing on the kitchen theme, kitchens are extremely expensive projects. So if a designer were to write an intelligent, thoughtful post on the ways to make sure that you best spend your money on a kitchen redesign or new design, that might be valuable and get pushed around.
Oh yeah, here are the 10 questions that I ask when I go on to a new job who's talking about kitchens,
right.
Or here are the 5 most important things that you need in your kitchen. Something like that is going to be interesting, and it's going to obviously end up in people understanding who you are, what you do, and how you can do it for them.
Okay. I like that. That's interesting. So, and you just write your information, and like, let's be technical now. Do you just write it in your computer in Word doc and then you upload it, or do you have to, send it to Fiverr and get somebody to make it look pretty, or how do we do this?
Yeah. So when you very first log into LinkedIn, right at the very top, there's going to be a box that says like, share what's on your mind, or, something like that. If you just write in that, that's going to be a post you've got like, I don't know, 600 characters or something to write an update. Those are the ones I'm telling you that you should do, like humble brags or ask questions to.
Right.
But there's another button right next to it that says article, and it shows a pen writing. When you click that, it switches the whole view over to something that looks like you're writing a blog post. It looks like WordPress, and you have the ability to insert pictures and video and like bold and italicized text and add links. It really is like writing a full blog post.
And so it has all the automation and the features that you need to do it right in there.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's nice. I didn't know that. That's interesting. That's good, because people like me, when I do a blog post and I send it to my social media team, it's a hot mess. I mean, I send it in a Word doc and I have like screenshots attached. And I'm like, this is the source for that picture. Go get the real thing. And then all of a sudden you look on our website and it's like, oh, isn't that pretty? So I don't know how to do all that stuff. So that's interesting that the tools are right there. So I love that.
Yeah, and then you can even take that a step further. If you are writing on your company blog, your company website, Google has this sometimes it's referred to as a penalty called a duplicate content penalty. What it is really more of a filter. If 2 pieces of content on the web go up at the same time, Google's going to look at it and they're going to try to decide who was there first. They're going to take that content and put it in their search engine for people to find. And then the next one that they find, they're going to call it just ripped off. And so and the reason behind this is when someone does a search for a keyword, they want to provide variety. They don't want to have 2 results being exactly the same thing. So what you do is you write the post first for your company blog or for whoever's having you write. And then once Google's found it, you can find that by just going to Google every day and searching for the title of your article. As soon as Google finds it, you can now take exactly that same thing, go and stick it in LinkedIn, because you don't care if LinkedIn gets filtered out with this Google duplicate content penalty. You just want your content in multiple places. And now your content is reaching not only the visitors and followers that your site has already built, but also now on LinkedIn, all of your connections who you're connected to professionally. And these are often very different groups. You've now doubled or tripled your distribution of your content. So this is going to be a great place to share content.
Okay, so I just want to review what you're saying. What you're saying is, very purposefully, if you're going to take the time to write an intelligent piece of something that reflects your expertise, don't first place it in LinkedIn. First place it in your own website. Leave it there for 2, 3, 4 days. Keep searching it yourself. Make sure that Google has been asked to search it and has found it. And then you can copy and paste it basically, or reduplicate it, however you do, into LinkedIn.
Yes, I couldn't have said it better myself.
Okay,
in fact,
okay.
I definitely didn't.
No, you said it well. For me, my process is I have to repeat what you said so I make sure I got it. And my iTunes reviews tell me that my audience likes when I do that.
I love it.
But that's my process. It's like, it has driven my husband crazy for more than 30 years. Yes, that's what I just told you. Why did you repeat that? Now it's working to my advantage finally, AJ.
Yes. And the big benefit here is now when people are searching for keywords on Google, they're going to go to your site and you own that traffic. Like that is exactly where you want your traffic, is on your website.
Right.
On LinkedIn, you kind of tend to blend in with everyone else, and everyone's experience looks the same, kind of blah. So yeah, get the traffic to your website whenever you can.
Right.
And even in the article, link to your website. Get as many people to your website as possible.
Exactly. I love it. That's awesome. So was that our first or our second? You had two things you wanted to say. That was the first one, because you said that you talked about writing the blog post. What was the second one?
Oh, you're right. Okay, so the second one that I'd talk about is groups on LinkedIn.
Oh,
so
yes.
you can go and find groups that people are talking in. So you might find, let's say there's a topic you want to learn more about. Maybe you're a designer and you want to do more of your own marketing. So you can go find a social media marketing group or a search engine optimization group, and you can go and watch conversation in there, learn, ask questions, and interact with people. So that's another great way that you can meet people that you wouldn't normally get to. And then, of course, when you do want to connect to someone that you're having a conversation with, you've already had a soft introduction, and you can just say in your message to them, hey, we share membership in X group. I loved what you said about Y. We should connect. I'd love to talk to you about something. Okay. And those can be a really great way to grow your network.
Well, and what I like about that is I think that oftentimes we think about going to our own people. So as designers, we go to the ASID group, and we go to the IDS group, and we go to, whatever it is. And of course, we should be in those groups so that we're, up on the latest things and events and trends and everything related to our field. But I like what you mentioned, even look, maybe you know everything there is to know about marketing, but if you're in a marketing group and you're one designer in a marketing group with 300 people, you actually might be better off and might be able to differentiate yourself so that if somebody eventually wants to hire a designer, you're not in a group with all designers. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Because if you're in a group where everyone is at the same level, it really just becomes a pissing match, to be honest. It's one of those things like you share how good you are and someone else tries to one-up you, and no one's getting any business out of just selling to each other who all do the same thing.
Right, and those groups function as support and as information, but if you want to reach and possibly make new contacts that can result in business, then reach out and join groups that are not in the design field. So maybe it's the alma mater, I can't ever say that word, alma mater.
Yeah.
Yes, that word. Whatever it may be, or like you said, around interest. But I think the key thing that I heard in there was, don't just join your own groups, your own people, go to others. And then remember, you're the interior designer, and there could be anybody in there likely to has a home or an office that might need design work. Okay.
Exactly. And even on top of that, don't be afraid to join groups that are in your local area, because that means everyone that you interact with, it could also potentially be a client. If you don't service California because you're in Virginia, hey, just interact with people in Virginia. That's going to give you a better chance for work.
Right. I love it. I think this is so fun. I mean, I guess, I don't know that I need one more thing in my day to do, AJ, and, having to check the LinkedIn now. But
so sorry.
It's sort of compelling, the fact that you had me, the line that it goes to everybody that you're connected to. I mean, there's no other platform that happens in. Am I mistaken? Am I wrong? But I don't think there's any platform where that happens.
Platforms that are really early on that are looking for new things to put in their feed to fill it up. I think like Snapchat is probably that way. You probably see everything. Okay. But yeah, LinkedIn is just by far, it's great to interact on just to get business, but then also the way that it works is very, very good for being professional. And you're not going to have bikini pictures and right. like vacation shots and that kind of thing. It's not the right place for it. So it's just, it really is the perfect confluence of a network to get business on and to interact with people.
Yeah, I love it. I think it's awesome. I appreciate you so much sharing your tips with this, because I love when my eyes are opened. That's really what it is. And, do I know if I have the bandwidth to start doing this? I have no idea. But at least I know now that there would be a reason to do it if I were inclined to do it. And of course, for designers out there, really, I can see that it could be a great place to interact and meet, like you said, affluent people who have the resources to do design projects.
Absolutely. So my work here is done. Yes. LinkedIn, you can send the check whenever you'd like.
Exactly. Oh, that's awesome. So AJ, before we close this show out, you have a shout out that you want to share, don't you?
I absolutely do. So when I was listening to this podcast a while back, the shout outs for Natalie Hearst, who was a past guest, I just happened to listen to her interview, and we ended up going, or like didn't end up. We went to the same college. We both went to BYU here in Utah. She lives probably 15 minutes north of me. So Natalie, I don't know you, but when I listened to it, I was like, yes, another Utah. So anyway, shout out to you.
Isn't that such a funny coincidence that, because I do the same thing. If I'm going to go on somebody else's show, I'll listen to, however many episodes to get an idea. It's a polite thing to do, right? But there's 200 shows and you pick 2 shows and Natalie's one of them. I think that's so hysterical. So,
yeah, I think we got lucky.
Yeah, and some things like that are just kismet. And Natalie is awesome. So I think it's great. And you guys would have a lot in common. I think you both have 4 kids.
Oh, no. We're repopulating the world.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, AJ, I thank you so much for coming. Before you go, just tell everybody the name of your business again and your website so that they can go and learn more about you.
Sure thing. If you go to b2linked.com, that's the letter B, the number 2, and then the word linked.com. That's my website where we're an agency. We do LinkedIn advertising. We help people advertise on LinkedIn. If you fill out the form on that on the webpage, you're not going to be put into some sort of like sales process or funnel. You're not going to have someone reach out to you and try to sell you. It will just be me, and I don't sell. So
okay.
If you want to get a hold of me, that's a great place.
Okay, great. And I'll just say, we really didn't discuss what your primary business is, which is running ad campaigns for businesses on LinkedIn. And I'm grateful to you to allow me to let us discuss this other way, because I just felt like that's step 2. First, as designers, we might have to consider the basics that we did. So that's very generous of you. But I am saying to anybody, if you are already very active on LinkedIn and it's a great platform and it's working for you, and you think that you might benefit from an ad campaign but don't know how to go about doing it, AJ is your guy. Okay.
Absolutely. Feel free to reach out. And I love to share. So
Thank you. Thank you so much, AJ. Have a great day.
Hey, thanks, Luann. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining me again today for another episode of A Well-Designed Business. This podcast is a production of WindowWorks in Livingston, New Jersey, your trade resource for custom window treatments and awnings. Learn more about WindowWorks at www.windowworks-nj.com. All of our music is original music by Room 2 Productions. Please contact us if you want to learn more about original music for your business or your events.